The Quincy Historical Society is kicking off their Quincy 400 events this week on a Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Their inaugural event called the Quincy Historical Society's Birdmen over Boston Harbor. It's the 1910 Harvard-Boston Aero Meet. It's a book launch, and you know who. Wayne Miller, local historian, has put together this publication about this historical event that happened back in 1910. So we're here with Wayne, but also with Alexandra Elliott, the director of the Historical Society, to tell us more about what's happening this week and this year. So Alexandra and Wayne, welcome both of you.
Hi,
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Great to have you here. So this is the inaugural event, Alexandra, for Quincy 400?
Yep, for the Historical Society's
Yeah.
programming for Quincy 400. Yes, no, Wayne's came to us last year saying that he should have the book ready in time for the spring, and this will be a fantastic event and topic to kick the year off for our celebration. So we're very excited.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
So why now, and why this particular topic for Quincy 400?
Well, it's a subject that really hasn't been devoted a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And it actually is something that Quincy has yet another claim to fame to. It was, a really huge event in the very, very early history of aviation, and it really was rather significant. As Wayne will get into, it's the first time that people in New England are seeing people fly.
Right.
So it was a big deal, and it just. And since it hasn't received a lot of attention in the past, we wanted to make sure that it got its fair dues now.
It's really true, isn't it, when you hear about Quincy, obviously shipbuilding and the granite industry and Howard Johnson's, and Dunkin' Donuts, but flying,
I know.
Aviation?
I know,
Yeah.
you wouldn't think, but
No.
But it turns out that this area was absolutely perfect for the purposes of this Aero Meet.
Absolutely, yeah. So, Wayne, tell me a little bit about your inspiration for putting this book together, first of all. Why?
Well, I've always, I've always had an interest in aviation.
Really?
In the 1970s, I saw the SST before just about anybody in America had seen it fly.
The SST.
I was at the airport in JFK,
Yep.
and it had only been flying for a month or so, and I could hear the roar of the plane. It was just incredible. The windows started shaking in the terminal building.
What's the SST?
The Concorde.
Oh, the Concorde.
Yeah.
Okay.
The supersonic transport.
Ah.
And the rush of the people towards the windows
Yep.
was just incredible.
Yep.
It was like a sea of people. They had to see it.
It was a new era in aviation at that time, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was.
It's funny, it has since been retired.
It was going. It looked like a rocket ship on wheels.
Sure.
It was just incredible.
Yeah.
The noise and when it took off, it only took like 20 seconds.
Yes.
It was so fast.
Yeah.
And I was just captivated by that.
That got you thinking.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I've been interested in aviation for quite a while.
Are you a pilot, or have?
No, I was never a pilot. I started collecting postcards
I see.
of the early aviators
Yes.
and the airplanes
Yep.
about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And it's something I really enjoyed seeing, those primitive airplanes
Yeah.
with open air cockpits. And so that's kind of the genesis of it.
I
But
see.
I found out about this air meet, I guess it was around 2009.
Okay.
When,
So it's been a while.
Yeah, I joined the Quincy Historical Society, and I thought it was just so cool because I grew up right near Wollaston Beach, and tens of thousands of people gathered at the beach to see the airplanes for free.
Yes.
They didn't even have to pay the dollar at Aviation Field,
Yeah.
which was in Squantum.
So this was in 1910.
Yeah, it was in September, the first 2 weeks of 1910.
For 2 weeks? Okay.
Yep, it was quite a long event.
Yeah.
It went from the 13th to the 16th. It was 2 weeks.
And do you know about how many folks participated, and how many aircraft participated, or
well,
pilots?
there were the Wright airplanes.
Really?
Wilbur Wright was there.
Really?
Glenn Curtiss came. So they were the two main manufacturers
Yes.
in the United States.
Yes.
And then there were some French aircraft that were there. The monoplane, the Blériot monoplane,
Okay.
and the Farman biplane. So there were there were at least four different airplanes, and then there was another monoplane that was built by Curtiss. So there were quite a variety of airplanes.
And why was it called the Harvard-Boston Aero
Well,
Meet?
that's because Harvard University was the organizer of the event.
I see, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I understand the President of the United States?
Yeah, President William Howard Taft came on one day,
Really?
and he brought his whole family, including his young boy who was about 12. He just loved it. He had to look at all the different airplanes.
Yeah.
He begged his father to stay for another hour, but President Taft said, "We got to go in about 10 minutes." But, yeah, they spent I think about an hour and a half at the meet. Yeah, that was a big day. It was a beautiful weather day.
Yeah.
There were probably 30,000 people at the
Wow.
field
Wow.
in the grandstands. And
So where exactly was the field? Where was the
yeah,
runway?
if you go to East Quantum, you go down the Quincy Shore Drive, you turn right at East Quantum Street, and then you would turn left at Victory Road
Mhm.
as you're going into
Marina Bay now.
yeah, Marina Bay today. And the entrance was about 200-300 yards in,
Oh, okay.
and they rented the entire western side of Squantum, which was called New Squantum back
Huh.
then on the maps. It was 500 acres.
Really?
There was nothing there. There was no building.
Right.
There were a few small brush trees, and that they had to clear, to build a runway and the grandstands
Just for this event?
just for the event.
Oh, okay. All
yeah,
right.
it was a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
Quincy had to bring in all sorts of materials to widen the roads down there because there was a sea of people that came. They had a parking area for 1,000 vehicles.
I see. Wow. So
Yeah.
folks came from all
They
over.
actually where Marina Bay is today is where
Yeah.
the parking area was.
Now, are there any remnants of the airfield left today?
No,
Nothing.
absolutely nothing.
It's all gone.
As a matter of fact, I was there last Sunday with my wife just to look around, but
Yes.
no, there's nothing.
No, no. And is there any kind of commemoration, a plaque, or
I didn't see anything.
nothing,
There's a little bit out at Squantum Point Park. There's some of those inscriptions in the stones
Oh, there are?
and so there
Ah,
is
okay.
one that does talk about the Aero Meet.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So, Wayne, what actually happened at an aero meet? What was it? A
Well, they had
race,
contests.
a competition? Oh, it was.
Yeah, well, what set it apart from an exhibition was that they had actual contests. The pilots would be competing against other pilots in different events. Like they had a speed contest, which was the fastest around the pylons. They set up 6 pylons around the field, and it was 1 3/4 miles around, and so they had to go 3 laps. So it was 5 1/4 miles
In a plane?
in an airplane.
Okay.
As fast as they could. And the winning time was 50-some miles an hour, so it took about 6 minutes
Wow.
to fly 5 1/4 miles. So, yeah, they were going pretty fast even in 1910. They
Yes.
had only been flying for basically 2 years.
Right.
The Wright brothers were the first to fly in December of 1903, but
Okay.
it took almost 5 years before a pilot could actually fly an airplane in a circle. Because when the Wright brothers flew, they only flew in a straight line,
Okay.
and then it crash landed.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
how they stopped, right?
So they had to develop controls
Yeah.
where the plane could be banked to the left and the right.
I see.
So,
Okay.
so they'd only been flying realistically for a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
And the first aero meet was in Los Angeles, and the Harvard-Boston meet was only the second air meet in the United States.
Wow. Wow.
Which was in September of 10. Los Angeles was in January.
Okay. Of that
So-
same year?
That was the same year, and then
Okay.
New York followed in October.
Okay.
So those were the big 3.
1910, that was a big year for
1910.
aviation. Yeah.
Yeah, and then 1911, the Harvard people ran it again, and after 11 they dropped out. The attendance had dropped dramatically because everybody had seen an airplane.
Oh, big deal. It's
Yeah, right. It was no big deal
airplanes,
anymore.
right? Yeah.
In 1912, another promoter came in and ran it and called it the Boston Aviation Meet.
Okay.
And then there was an accident there that killed 2 people. the pilot and the promoter of the event. He died as well.
Oh.
So that ended all the air meets.
Oh,
in
that was at
Quincy.
Squantum, right?
Yes.
Harry
Yeah.
Quimby.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
in the Squantum section. of
Yes,
Quincy.
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I think Alexandra. Correct me if I'm wrong. There is a commemoration for her.
There is, and Squantum Point Park as well.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But this was. I mean, I kind of equate this to. I don't know. I guess the moon launch in 1969 it had that same kind of appeal because it was a first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were thousands of people in boats in Dorchester Bay, Quincy Bay,
Sure.
all the way through Boston Harbor. Watching the airplanes.
Yes.
fly.
Yes.
And thousands of people on the beaches.
So did winners get money? Was it for cash prize?
Yeah, there were cash prizes. There was $10,000
Wow.
for one prize. Some of them were $5,000. That was an enormous sum of money. $10,000 in 1910 is like $337,000 today.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so there was some huge prizes, and
Yeah,
the
yes.
Harvard people raised the money
Sure.
from local businesses to provide
Yeah.
the prize money.
Do you think if it weren't for Harvard, it would have happened here? Probably.
No, I'm convinced it wouldn't have
Probably
happened.
not. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, L.A., New York, Quincy.
Well, Quincy wasn't the first choice, but it ended up in Quincy.
Oh,
because
interesting.
They needed more space. The first place they chose was out of the area, and then the second place they chose was where the Harvard Stadium is
Yes.
in Alston.
Yes.
They determined that was too small,
Sure. Yeah.
so then they finally chose Quincy.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we all have the ocean, so it's unlimited, right?
Yeah, well, it was a perfect place to have it. Really,
Yeah.
it was isolated. There were no buildings around.
Yes. Yeah.
It was just a great place to have it.
So was that the beginnings of the Denison Airport? That was.
Well, it was basically a decade.
Yeah. Afterwards, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But it had been established as a place for aviation. So Quincy really made its mark in that,
Yep.
in that role, anyway. So tell me about the book. It's Birdman over Boston Harbor.
Yeah, Birdman over Boston.
The 1910 Harvard-Boston
Yeah, there
Aero
it
Meet.
is.
Yeah, there it is. When did you start it? When did you finish it? And how did you
Well,
research it?
I started at the end of 2023,
Okay,
and I finished it towards the end of 2024.
okay.
And then I submitted it to the Quincy Historical Society, and they reviewed it, and we made adjustments,
Yes.
corrections,
Yeah, yeah.
and we just got it back from the printer Saturday.
Okay.
So
Filled with photographs, I'm assuming. Right?
yeah, well, what's great about it is there are over 80 photographs,
Wow.
and they're all from different types of places. The Boston Globe had photographs every day.
Yeah, hold that up, Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
The Boston Globe had photographs every day. Their photographer was Anthony J. Philpott, and he was a staff photographer as well as a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
And he, when he died, his collection of photographs was donated to Wright State University in Ohio. And so there's several dozen photographs there, which I had access to.
Mm.
I got permission.
Yeah.
And the Quincy Historical Society had photographs, Harvard University, Scientific American, and there were about 40 postcards that were sold at the meet, the official photographer.
Oh, I see.
And
Yeah.
so there was a huge resource
Yes, yes.
for an author
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be able to weave the photographs in
Wow.
with the text.
So how is it told? Is it a story? Is it narrated?
Well, it's a true story.
No,
I mean,
obviously,
it's not.
yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah,
More of an accounting.
it's
of his-
actually an account of how the whole thing came about.
I see. Okay.
And Harvard's participation, and then I go into each day of the meet. So it actually goes from day one of the meet on September 3 until it ends.
Oh, very good. Okay.
And then there's an aftermath where I talk about what happened to the aviators
Yes.
after they left Quincy, which
Okay.
is kind of interesting.
Were there any from Quincy? I mean, I know Harriet Quimby, but were there any actually from Quincy? Maybe Alexandra, you know. But
Not in the 1910
No,
air meet.
okay.
No, we didn't start having really good aviators until a couple years later.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
when they
right.
started being able to train out here with Denison and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. So interesting. So tell me about the presentation on Thursday evening, 7 p.m. at the Adams Academy, Quincy Historical Society. What are you going to be talking about, Wayne?
Well, I have a slide presentation.
Oh, okay,
Where I'll
great,
be-
great,
There's over 30 slides,
excellent.
and I'll be talking about pretty much what's in the book, but I
Yeah.
won't be giving away all
I-
the great details.
This is a little
of
tease, yeah.
Who won the contest? you
Right,
know.
right.
We'll keep that for the people who want to
Okay.
buy the book. But I'll be talking about the various contests and some of the important people that came. So that's what I'll be doing.
Okay. And were the pilots really called Bergmen? They were-
Well, in 1909, 1910
Yeah.
time period, the newspaper men would spice up the headlines. They'd say "Birdmen
I see.
flying today," "Birdmen doing."
Okay, all
So
right.
it was a term that was widely used in
Kind of.
1910.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't make it up.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, it was a very popular term, and I just thought the alliteration sounded good to me. Birdmen over Boston Harbor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So-
Neat, neat. And you'll be, I'm assuming, signing books
Yes,
afterwards.
we'll be selling the books,
Okay.
and I'll be signing.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So, Alexandra, when you first kind of reviewed this,
Mm-hmm.
what were your thoughts?
Oh gosh, I mean, it's such a great story, and there's
Yeah.
so many interesting tidbits in there about some kind of obscure Quincy history
Yeah.
and just some of the really charming and interesting stories about the pilots and the kind of antics they got up to while they were in town. And
Sure.
there's some really good nuggets in here.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good tease.
Oh yeah, I hesitate to. I don't want to step on Wayne's toes, but
Yeah.
there are some genuinely funny moments where I laughed out loud as I was reading.
Wow. Okay.
It.
There's
because
a great
it's-
review.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really interesting little pieces in here.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in Quincy history, this really is a great intro to something that not a lot of people have talked about yet.
No, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised to learn it was a 2-week event. So, I mean,
Yes,
obviously
yeah.
there were a whole influx of people that came to this area for a long time, and they had a lot of downtime, right? And they had to stay somewhere
Yep.
during that time. So it really probably engulfed the lives of Quincy for quite
It
a while.
absolutely did. I think people were opening their homes to let people stay.
Yeah.
I think they were renting out rooms. They were cooking meals and selling them on
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of the whole town really got into it as a bit of an opportunity.
The backstory of
Yes,
it all.
yeah,
Yeah. So again, it is Birdmen over Boston Harbor, the 1910 Harvard-Boston Aero Meet book launch and presentation by our esteemed author, historian Wayne Miller, Thursday, March 6, 7 p.m. at the Adams Academy. The inaugural event for Quincy 400 for the Historical Society.
Absolutely.
Alexandra. Anything else we can talk about for Quincy 400?
Sure, yeah. So next month we've got a very exciting event coming up on April 24th. We have Leanne Brandon coming to the Historical Society. She is a trailblazing filmmaker in documentary filmmaking. Founded I think it's called New Day Pictures. I apologize if that's not the right one.
Okay.
But founded a production company for independent films. And she was, in the 60s, happened to be a teacher at North Quincy High School,
Wow.
teaching English.
Okay.
So she cut her teeth here in Quincy and was actually the audiovisual club head,
Oh, cool.
the teacher
Yeah.
liaison for the students. So we're going to be showing 2 of her the student films that she supervised.
Nice.
So kind of showing some nostalgic views of Quincy in the 60s.
Neat.
And doing kind of like Q&A and hoping it will be a little bit of a reunion for her and some of her students and colleagues that
sure.
might still be in the area.
Yeah.
And then we're also working on a refresh of our core exhibit. And I'm actually working on a book for this year as well about the Howard Johnson's Corporation, which is turning 100 this year. So we've got a lot going on.
I would say, yeah. And you can probably see all that and more on your newly revamped website.
On our newly revamped website. That
Yes,
is correct. Yes.
QuincyHistory.org.
That is correct.
All right. Anything else we share with folks right now? Come, enjoy.
Come enjoy.
We're
Special,
excited.
Yeah.
Yep, special one-night price for $20 on Thursday.
Okay.
for the
And Wayne, it sounds like this would appeal certainly to aviation enthusiasts, but also just Quincy folks who are interested in the history of
I
the city.
believe so.
Yeah.
Both groups of people, I think, would enjoy the book.
Yeah. I hope you have a great event.
you.
Thanks for coming by to share a little bit with us.
Thanks, Joe.
You're very welcome. And thanks for watching us here at AEM Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. See you next time.